eternal. We evolve. We conquer. We will consume all within the Nexus. Your villains, your heroes will all become part of my brood. Okay, fine. You two. You will try to resist, but it is only a matter of time, for the swarm is eternal.
I once ruled Ashul Nerub. Then came a war I could not win. I was forced into servitude. But here, in this strange place, no one commands my power! I will conquer the Nexus! Those who oppose me shall embrace the web of death. I am a Nubarak. I ruled once before. I shall rule again.
Welcome back to the exciting match of Part 2, Gale Force eSports versus Tempo Storm. Gale Force tried to bring out what they've been playing before, globals upon globals, but maybe going too far.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole. You know, maybe lost a little Alice in Wonderland factor kind of happening for them. Time it's in reality itself is kind of warping around Zagara, just figuring it out. But yeah, you know, I think they can tone it back. I don't think that they've overly invested so heavily in that direction that they can't recover. Obviously, they drafted that way, but I might not. Maybe
they can, but will they?
Yes.
That is the question, because it's Braxis. And they picked it. They gave up first pick.
No, we're going down the Zag. We're going to the Zag.
Back to the rabbit hole, the Nidus hole we go.
Yeah, just drop the keep. Time's up. Let's go, boys.
Leroy.
We're going. So that's going to be fun. That'll be interesting. Braxis holdout. It's a good map for both these teams. So I'm excited to see what we have unfold. But you got to, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen Gale Force eSports on Braxis holdout in Part 2, what that means is double global. Zagara is one of those. And then a Murden who sits there and anchors all day.
They are undefeated with their strategy.
To be fair, it's 2-0. 3-0 technically.
3-0.
2-0 with one composition that was identical, and then the other one was a variation.
The other one was a variation because Navintic forced them that way. But I will also have you know that that was the first Gale Force eSports loss with Zagara.
Well, maybe maybe it'll humble them, and they'll be like, maybe we don't want the Zag. I don't think one loss will do it, to
Not
be honest.
on Braxis.
Nah.
But Tempo's banning a new Barak here.
The Anubarak ban. Tempo Storm has been one of the biggest Zarya fans of any team. They just don't even want to deal with it.
Nice.
Okay, so what that strategy did is it relied on Chromie to sit behind the gate and defend in a 3 versus 3 and make it to where you couldn't siege into it.
Right.
So by denying Chromie a first pick on Tempo Storm, the entire strategy, unless a Chromie replacement exists, Gale Force can't have it.
Well, Navintic did do the same thing. They banned Chromie versus Gale Force.
And
Gale Force went with Kael'thas.
And they did. So now, does Tempo Storm deny both? Do they ban out one? Or does Gale Force force themselves into picking Kael'thas this high up?
Are they okay with Falstad and Zagara, though? That was one of the things that was taken away. They took away Falstad, Murid, and Zagara, so...
Sticking to it.
We're here still.
So, congratulations. We're, in fact, where we started. Thank you for joining us in this adventure.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hey. Don't even mention it. Don't mention adventure.
Yeah.
I don't want a Lily
Oh,
here.
you're right. It's too close to being real for me to.
Oh, it's Tempo on Braxis too.
No, dude, don't. We
I think
forgot.
it'd be Brightwing first.
Yeah,
If Tempo played double support.
I hope. Either way, we'll find out in these next 2 picks. Most likely, we'd see one of the 2.
Just heard you say you hope for Brightwing, which has made
I
me the happiest co-caster.
Malf ETC locked in for Tempo.
All right.
Do we see the Uther ban out of Tempo Storm in the secondary ban phase? That's one question that comes to mind after seeing that Malfurion locked in. For GFE, though, what do you ban? You know Tempo Storm knows exactly what you want to do, and they think they've got the answer. So, Gale Force, you got to... This ban, in theory, should be what they think the biggest counter is to their strategy.
Right.
Not even a single, probably, like, target ban like we see in role isolation normally. This should be a theory ban. An overarching compositional ban rather than a, oh, you've picked your warrior, we'll ban, or we picked our warrior, we'll ban a warrior, that type of thing.
Is it a top laner so that there are less strong top laners if they get Zagara Falstad? Surely, though, they think that Tempo is going to ban Falstad, or do you think that Uther is more of a threat, even given that the Zagara and Falstad together was so strong? Yeah, I guess they did.
It probably isn't. They ban out the Alderac. But I agree with you. I don't think Tempo Storm thinks Uther would be that big of a problem, actually. Thinking about it now, to the composition that Gale Force has, it makes more sense. Well, it's more, what does Tempo think? Do they think that the strategy is beatable and it's already easy? Because if so, one of the most satisfying things you can do as a competitor, like for real, like for Tempo Storm here, being such a dominant team, you legitimately can go, if Gale Force has a strategy, the Uther ban, so they're doing exactly this.
Yes.
They're saying, we are so happy you're drafting your draft because we have already known we can just beat this. So, like, there's nothing better than knowing exactly what your opponent's going to draft and you already know you can beat it. Like,
well, they did cut it down somewhat. They took Chromie. So all they said is, as long as we get the Chromie, you can't win with this.
But either way, I can tell you with that ban, Tempo Storm is jumping in their boots right now because that shows it's more of an objective ban. They're not worried about the strategy. Please pick your Falstad. Please pick your Globals, and we're going to take it to you. What the answer is, we don't really know other than the Chromie adjustment.
Are Gale Force eSports going to change anything from that? Not having Falstad, they did run this once with Zeratul instead and had Zeratul Zagara. That's how they won versus Niventic, but it was the closest a team has come to beating this strategy. Honestly, it came down more to Niventic having some mess-ups.
I'll be honest, out of all the variations we've seen, a Gul'dan Valera from Gale Force of all teams. And this is after the Valera nerf.
Yes.
Just so everybody knows.
No cold blood. Eviscerate does less damage. There's one more. Death from above.
Yeah,
range was nerfed.
that was the biggest one. It's just
cold blood too is pretty big. At 20.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I guess I don't look at Valera as like the late game. I look at it as just like, how is her Q build playstyle, right? Any stealthy's terrifying in the late game. Either way, it's weird to see this from GFE because it feels like a stab at Psalm. That's all they're doing in this draft, is they're looking at Psalm and saying, we're taking away your heroes. Or they're trying to force him onto a KT.
He still has Zeratul.
But the Valera counters it. That's the problem.
Yeah, and even Psalm believes that too. We'll play Thrall instead.
So he's going to go to the Thrall.
Or Chen. Oh my, it's it. It's MVP Black.
Okay.
Okay, other teams are playing Chen, but to me, he is most iconically MVP Black's hero right now.
I'm going to be honest. Still not on the Chen hype train. Just period.
I knew that was where it was coming, or where it was going.
There's just... He holds a lane, and that's about all he does. We'll see if Tempo Storm, maybe they can put up a better argument. Maybe I'm missing out. But Chen is one of the least impactful heroes in this game for me in a lot of cases. Ever since old school Chen was nerfed.
This is the first time that Gale Force eSports is playing Valera. What support? Akaface, Lieutenant Morales.
No Uther, so I feel like for this type of draft,
there's still Ariel with Gul'dan. Morales.
They go with the Morales. It's confidence. Confidence into a Chromie Thrall. Tell you that much. And a Chen.
And a Chen. That's what I was looking at.
That's
Barrel, boys!
That is intimidating. I definitely did not expect to see the Morales picked up here for Gale Force, but we'll see what Akaface can do with it. Last time, I had said the exact same thing. Okay, so This is a weird thing because Akaphase has picked multiple Moraleses, and every time I'm like, it just seems a little riskier than it needs to be, and every time he's not punished. And I cannot tell. I mean, I have my opinion, but I do not have, obviously, an objective answer. If that is him, just how somehow he has good positioning, but like having flawless, essentially, or our team's not playing enough pressure, or is it a compositional thing, right? Because we've seen Morales without fail-safes succeed for the first time ever, just flat out. So why is that happening? Is it the lack of pressure that we may see out of Tempo, or is it going to be that of Gale Force? Like if Gale Force wins this game,
I think that this is a great point or time to bring up that Akaphase has been steadily climbing in the KDA ranks throughout the past few weeks, to the point that he is now second, only behind June, who has been first since I think part 1, week 4. He has held that for a long time.
Really weird.
June is still the only player to average less than 1 death per game. So June is still at the top, but Akaphase has been slowly climbing up to try to take that spot. Regardless of how this is going to turn out, man, I'm excited for these drafts. Let's get into game number 2 on Brax's holdout.
Gilly, I just want to say thank you very much for realizing that supports carry North America, Number 1 and 2
I didn't
KDA
have to realize it. I got the
supports.
stats to back it up.
They're the supports, baby. The backbone of these teams.
It's so fun to look at KDAs when you talk about these two teams against each other because 3 of the top 5 KDAs belong to Gale Force eSports. But 2 of them belong to Tempo Storm, including the top one. So which one? I think it's about dead even.
Weighing him out, essentially, the roles.
Yeah, both supports, and then you have Koth and Luck, I think, is sitting at number 4, and then Michael Udall and Fan.
For Valeera 1, we see the crippling poison. This is something that is not rare.
Specific.
We'll put it as a viable option in level 1, but I still don't feel totally sold on saying it's not norm. You know what I mean? We have some of these weird talents where there are 50-50, and it's hard to gauge what is the standard, but crippling poison is not a major outlier.
Again, these two teams scrim each other a lot, so if we are looking at it maybe as a sign of respect, Psalm does a lot with this build in particular.
Yeah.
Gale Force eSports have probably been on the sad end of that Valeera many a time.
Many a time. It's going to be a 3-2 split here in the laning phase, opening up on Chen, then Thrall. Immediately a kill here for Gale Force eSports with Fan there on the Valeera.
Great follow-up from Equinox, too, having the Storm Ball at the right time to get a kill in this 2-man, the 3 versus 3-man.
I freaking love what Gale Force has done with this laning phase.
Talk about it.
Okay, so Gale Force in the past, just feel comfortable at any point. We'll just break it down. All right, so Gale Force in the past, when they've been running their Braxis 2.0 strategies, when they've been on Braxis holdout, they've ran it to where the Chromie was playing defensively into the 3-man. So it was a 2 versus 2 up on top that they knew they could win with globals. Hold on a minute here. See if he's got Dwarf Toss. He's fine. So they would abuse the laning matchup to where they would be winning both essentially effectively. Now the Chromie's been denied and went to Tempo Storm. So what did Gale Force do? They actually decided to stop caring about committing to matching this matchup, right? That they, in theory, should lose because they know they've built this Chromie defensive strategy.
Correct.
And instead it puts more pressure up on top. They ignore it. They set the perfect wave clear on bottom between Gul'dan and Morales. You just one-shot the minion wave, and then you go back to focusing on top. Inversing, because Tempo adjusted with the Chromie, they say, screw the bottom lane. We're just going to pressure your top then.
And they already know, they already have the Muradin, who is able to sneak away beacons. That's part of Gale Force eSports Braxis strategy, is to sneak beacons from behind a team and force Tempo Storm to stop sieging. But now they have Fan to do the exact same thing. They have 2 people to basically wubby a situation and steal beacons and just make Tempo Storm have to rethink about what they're doing and move back.
So it's going to be on bottom for now. June just out of range of the Storm Bolt. He's going to be fine. These traps are getting removed. The pressure of Tempo Storm here up on top, as we were talking about, not effective. Just purely based on the rotations here of GFE so far in this game, as it looks like now maybe a bit more attention set towards bottom.
Yeah, it's so cool to see this laning from Gale Force. They have Michael Udall and Akaphase.
Stun.
Grenade, stun, 2 Storm Bolts!
Got him! Fan with the setup, Akka with the initiation. That was legitimately one of the most beautiful kills I have ever seen in Heroes of the Storm. That was just so nice.
Perfect play from Gale Force eSports, showing why Brax's holdout is their map. This is our home turf, Tempo Storm.
Just 1, 2, 3. Good night. Fan gonna dodge the Feral Spirit there as we have a 3 versus 3 up here on the top lane of Brax's holdout.
He dodged a lot of abilities there before Cattle finally revealed him. Being annoying, that is the name of the game for Gale Force eSports on Brax's holdout, adding Wound Poison to the crippling poison of Valera's build, continuing on with the piano. From that, still getting the ambush talents probably, even though we haven't seen a Valera since Death from Above was nerfed. I don't think so, right?
I don't believe so either. No, this is going to be the one, the only so far of 2.0 when it comes to Valeras. And it's working out, at least for now. Gale Force has managed to get those 2 picks, all with the setup there of Fan. And man, that guy's dodging skill shots to get revealed left and right. It's just, nobody can find him out. Even with June, he does have a scouting drone if he really is panicked.
We'll even throw down some roots just to make sure. Just hit the time trap finally. Akaface is building into making sure that if he starts to take some chromie damage, he has some ways of keeping himself alive. He has Trauma Trigger, Automated Block 2 for basic attacks. Maybe we could either see a Spell Shield or Couples Therapy, depending on what he feels will be more beneficial to keep himself alive once he gets to 13.
So oh man, Power Slide going in on Murden, interrupting the Dwarf Tusk, and Equinox make it out. Fan getting so much damage on the Fury. Equinox falls. Fan is in a rock in a hard place as he's body blocked to death. Fury makes it out with the kites.
He's vanished. Feral Spirit stun, jump from Cattle, fires. That's going to slow down too.
Wow.
Chain Lightning, Fan survives.
Fan somehow manages to survive. The body block was not enough there. 22% has been achieved by Gale Force onto the Zerg Rush, but it is a slow first phase here on Braxis. The 2-1-2 for GFE, so cleverly put together, and right now, it's looking good. You know, it's had a hiccup, but for the most part, it's still Gale Force running the show, it feels like, for Tempo Storm, constantly reacting.
So I remember a tweet now that Fury put out about the new ETC once we knew that we were going to the 2.0 patch, saying that he felt like ETC now is way more needing to go stage dive because of his changes. He did have his Rockstar functionality change. He gets armor instead of giving attack speed. We'll have to see if he still wants to get Mosh Pit. It's a battleground where there are some chokes. He can get Mosh from that, or if he feels like he needs the global for his team and will get stage dive instead. But I guess there's still grenades, there's stuns. There's ways of stopping him from being able to stage dive on the back line.
Yeah, that is really interesting concept to think about here in this game, especially knowing that was just the initial thoughts. You know, have they changed? Are they going to continue? Because that is not too common here, but you could make a case for it again with that Zagara on the other side.
Equinox, what he does best as the Smurden. Fan is here too. Hits Psalm in trouble. Stormbolt connects. Another kill for Gale Force.
Cattle on his own gets the first Q to get out. Fan has a stealth initiation. There it is. Do they have the damage? No. Tempo Storm may be looking to turn this around. Cattle can still survive for a long while. Good dodge onto the power slide. It's going to be Fan. So that's down for a bit. Initiation coming out from Cattle. Stormbolt whiffs. And 10 closing in here for Gale Force eSports as they are 25% away, merely a minion wave away from picking up their heroics and initiating a 100-0 Zerg Rush.
And this whole time, Gale Force have been 3v, essentially 4ing it down in the bottom lane. Poor Chromie was left to her own devices to try to stop Gul'dan and Morales from just power pushing that top lane, which is where the Zerg will push for Tempo Storm, but as this beacon gets closer and closer, Gale Force eSports continue to hold onto it. There's horrifying heroic abilities, but Cawthon runs straight up, not scared into the team of Gale Force, thank goodness for Tempo Storm, but now with those heroic abilities, Tempo Storm will have to take a breather.
Yeah, it's all about the Zerg Rush now for GFE. A flank coming down here behind both Psalm and Fury. Valera actually not joining when it comes to the race here over the Shrine itself. Krone moving up. 3 members of Tempo Storm are here. Down a man is going to be Gale Force as Akka is just going to try and buy as much time as he can. He still has his avatar if he needs it, but the top Shrine's not captured because June goes down there on top.
Yeah, Equinox is getting low, but he's still Murden, has Dwarf Toss, uses that to get over the wall, and even used Avatar just to buy as much time as he could.
I think that's a perfect way to describe Murden in general.
Yes.
Is, oh, Murden's low, but it's Murden.
Yeah,
you know,
Murden's low, but
hey,
that's all you need.
Yeah. But in fact, it is Muradin, one of the tankiest characters in the entire game. A lot of mobility. He makes it out for there, but Gale Force is yet to get any more points on the Zerg Rush. Tempo Storm has done a good job making their way up to 10.
Yeah, despite having heroic abilities, still doing that. Here comes a stage dive, power slide to follow up. Crowan in danger, especially with 3 pandas on the battlefield.
Yeah, and if they can get any more picks, that is going to be huge. They're body blocking Cattle. He's going to get pressure onto Akaface, not even going for the barrel strategy. Instead, just capitalizing on the lack of healing that he has for himself. Matter of fact, drops it. Do they have the damage? Yes, they do.
Oh!
Twilight Dream, horrified to get the peel, but it's too late. That is Gale Force losing another member, and Tempo Storm pulling ahead.
The Twilight Dream dropping just as soon as he's knocked out of the medevac. Dropship 2, Horrify could not save the life of Lieutenant Morales. Well, that's an interesting statistic. When winning game 1, Tempo Storm's gone on to win 9 of their 12 matches of phase 1.
That is really interesting. Today I learned. Rotations up. Mike Udall in a bad spot after Cattle gets the Q. Good zoning route there. Earthquake's going to be dropped. Fury falling pretty low after the Stormbolt, but that is going to be Mike Udall dropping here. So much burst coming out from this comp. And Zagara, the lone bug. Don't think you're making it out of here.
She'll do her very best, but she is surrounded on all sides of Dragon's Breath, even from Pothen, should she move through the choke point. Tempo Storm, down and out at the very beginning of this game. Gale Force eSports really seemed to have a grasp and had Tempo Storms on the rope, basically. But somehow Tempo Storm did not let a Zerg Rush hit them while they didn't have heroic abilities, and that was huge for them. It's still vastly in favor of Gale Force eSports, but now Tempo looks like a completely different team with their heroics.
And a lot of that came down to the Horrify up on top. The fact that we saw the heroic used as an attempt to force an initiation, understandable. But the fact that it was only onto a Chromie, it netted no kills, and it's one of the most impactful heroics in the entire game.
Yeah.
They didn't focus on the Zerg Rush, they went for the kills. And without getting any of those kills either, then cycling your heroics, especially those longer ones, that is not what you want there. Stormbolt onto Cattle. He's fine for now. June with the heals. Zerg Rush is moving its way in here to the bottom lane as Gale Force eSports is closing in on that 13 talent tier.
Yeah, this is the important moment for Gale Force. They have achieved what they have worked so hard to get, which is the bigger Zerg Rush. They want to open up the battleground as best they can so that Zagara can start to pressure throughout. Stage dive hits Equinox. He does get stunned out of it. Gale Force is stepping back away, trying to look where they can regroup. They have all their heroic abilities except Avatar, which was just popped, allowing Gale Force to keep Equinox in the fight. Horrify again, but it goes the wrong way.
It pushes June away, and now Akaface has so much pressure with the Storm, Earth, and Fire. Fan went in, finishing off June, and that is going to be the first kill, but both the supports are now dead as Storm, Earth, and Fire rips through Morales.
Now Fan's in trouble. Som going for the chase along with Cattle. You just can't get away from Thrall and Chin together.
Power
2
slide.
kills for 1.
Very little mana left. The Sparrow Spirit hits. No way he's going to get this kill. Fury walking away. Equinox accepting his fate, and that is another member down. 3 for 1 on that team fight. Sadly, going to be 4 for 1 in a couple of seconds.
One drains life, the other one starts to drink their brew, saying, yeah, that's fine, you can drain this.
He's got the body blocks. He's dead.
He is just ripping through poor Mike Udall, but he gets behind the gate.
Even using that Hellstone, he could have gotten the bait over the wall and maybe get a turnaround there. But yeah, with the vision, you can throw the flame over the wall, and with Donkey Kong
that was
build,
awesome
throw
from
the
Chromie.
W, and then you can just dive over. But that, yeah, and the vision that we saw for Fan.
Right.
Everything about this play here from Gale Force eSports is looking good, but Tempo still showing why they are the #1 team here in North America, ahead when it comes to those kills. They know how to team fight. They know how to work on the same page, and it's showing here today. Even having answers, at least so far, to this Zagara composition out of Gale Force.
Yeah, Tempo Storm has been able to keep both of their keeps alive and stay right caught up with Gale Force in experience. Horrify hits, but doesn't really.
That's the 4th Horrify. 3rd, 4th? That has hit maybe one person, and they've gone the wrong direction every single time. Mike Udall's got to be able to step that up here in this game if they're going to be able to take it to Tempo. Because, I mean, against a lesser team, maybe you can say that's all right, but this is Tempo Storm we're talking about. Psalm taking a lot of damage from Fan.
Stage dive on Akaface, and we've got a full dive comp to take her down with Twilight Dream. Lieutenant Morales out of the fight. Tempo Storm wants to continue on, but Equinox gets the counter kill on ETC.
They do get the counter kill in Fan. You see him lurking, waiting for a moment. The body block's coming out from Storm, Earth, Fire. Equinox is going to say thanks for the heal. The W coming out from Chromie, and without a Dwarf Toss, Equinox ends up falling here. Meanwhile, Crowin has been sieging up on top with Zagara, looking for this keep. This is what the Zagara is built to do on Brax's holdout. Can they buy enough time?
On the topic of horrifies for Mikey Doll, I think that goes to show the scariness of Tempo Storm's composition. Having both Chen and Thrall and ETC2, it's just so scary for him to want to step out. Let's take a look at this last fight again. Dread, break it down.
Dude, a lot of it's the pressure, just the stage dive power slide. Obviously, the one shot on Morales is never a fight that you're going to want to end up taking. And I do respect Equinox turning around, getting that Stormbolt. So this is not all is lost in this fight. But it just, past this point, not much else to say. Equinox is a little bit too far out, doesn't have the mana, doesn't have the resources, and another member lost. But it's still a pretty close team fight, and I think if we see one, even two-man Horrify in a fight, not even for the first pick, that this is going to be a very different game for GFE.
Yeah, and Crowin took out half of the health of that keep, and Gale Force eSports are so close to 16, so are Tempo Storm, so this is still anyone's game right now, especially since Gale Force has the structural advantage. Tempo Storm is doing everything they can. Fan gets caught by Cattle.
I always get scared. Every time I see that Dragon's Eye hit a ground and a tank initiates, I'm like, you're dead. Like, somebody else is going to do the damage. Careful, careful, careful.
Well,
but
it's Mobius Loop, so it is a little bit less damage, but it is can happen more often. Though, getting Quantum Loop, Quantum Overdrive to increase spell power. That's an interesting change up there, not having the shifting sands to be able to give more ability power that you can continue to stack. Instead, having a one-shot to pair that with the level 1, just a big burst of ability power to try to take someone else, maybe even countering the fact that they did feel like they needed to go Mobius Loop.
Yeah, it's just saying, I want to do the damages, putting all of your cooldowns in rotation with that bonus spell power. We'll see how it works. It is a high risk in the sense that because you aren't even, there's no point in click. Ooh, the stun. Cattle, he still has Storm Earth Fire, first nade.
That nade was great, but still, it's Cattle. Fan was rotating around with Valera, but he got to his Chromie and, more importantly, Malfurion for heals in time, zoning roots too. So we have a moment stopping the action while teams gear up for the beacon phase. Tempo Storm leads this for now.
They do lead it for now. Psalm goes in. Oh man, so much damage onto him. Twilight Dream hits Fan, but with already one member down, it's not going to matter. The two-man Horrify gets the split. Tempo Storm loses June. Fan is just wreaking havoc on their backline.
And it's not done yet. They're chasing down these pandas. He's going to come back into regular Chin mode, and Crowin was there for once Cattle jumped over. Michael Udall's coming in. Cattle's trying his best to dodge every single one of the members, but it is all for naught. 4 for nothing. And Gale Force eSports, with this keep low, looks to finish off Tempo right here.
This is going to be it here. They don't have any major cooldown, so it's all going to be up to Fury. 12 seconds here before they're going to find themselves a Chromie June, only a couple seconds before. Can Fury hold this off? No mosh pit. The shield's taking the damage. Shielding removed. Thrall is going to be up. No heroic for him. Mouth joining in 70%.
70% and falling rapidly. Psalm is there, and so is Fury. They did get a great stun and a knockback, but it's still Equinox and Fan on the core. It's at 25%. Gale Force eSports will be able to tie up this series 1-1.
And almost another kill to boot. Gale Force eSports fighting back, still undefeated with their Zagara strategy, but a very different version of it here we witnessed against Tempo Storm.
Yeah, it's amazing to see all the iterations that they've made, because you know that they're sitting down and saying, we want to continue to run this. We know this is strong. But what are we going to have to deal with? What kind of adaptations in draft are we going to have to deal with from Tempo, from Naventic, and how do we continue to make this work on Braxis?
I absolutely love the thought process there. Well, a lot of what I think now, seeing it with this version, it's shown a lot of the core of the composition, a lot of it, to where I would say Gale Force has shown maybe too much of how the comp works, where teams might be able to take them with it, but a lot of it comes down to it's more of a 2-1-2 than it is about the 3-2 split. The Chinese 2-1-2 where it's whenever you can apply pressure somewhere else, the middleman can then counter the momentum elsewhere onto the map, and that's the Murden the whole time, getting those beacons,
stealing
stalling
them,
it out.
jumping away at the last second, just wreaking havoc, distracting, which is something that Gale Force eSports has gotten so good at in Part 2, distracting. Think about when they played Team A and they'd have somebody who would guide a lot of the members of Team A away, end up flying away or not, but in that time, pick up an Immortal. Their Distractics are top tier. And with that, they have tied